This is the Fandemic, hosted by my dad, a podcast about catching up and nerding out.
With anyone whose awesomeness levels rival mine.
So level up your awesomeness and welcome to the Fandemic.
Welcome to the Fandemic. This is a podcast about different people and what they are a fan of. I'm sure there'll be plenty of side roads that go down. You know, you always do that in the horror genre. But I really just like to get to know people that I may or may not know. I'm the self-proclaimed Emperor of Awesome, Bradley Butin. And today my guest is someone who has leveled up her awesome in countless ways, like acting, producing, writing, and an artist in multiple ways because art is never ending. You may have seen or heard of her from Mystery Science Theater 3000 or Manos. Jackey Jones, welcome to the Fandemic.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. So I actually wrote the book on leveling up your awesome. You can check that out on Amazon.
Okay.
It's my first kids book that I wrote, along with Stuffed Animal Night Force versus the Dream Invaders. There's my selfless plugs. So tell me, where can we find all of the awesome projects that you have and are doing currently?
Well, I mean, for one thing, if you haven't seen Manos, the Hands of Fate, I would strongly suggest doing the Mystery Science Theater version to begin with. It's often used as a bet, or it's always, or generally suggested not to have it be the very first Mystery Science Theater show you watch.
Uh-huh.
But you can see that for free on YouTube.
Nice.
And then I wrote a book, which I'm very proud to say is 4.5 stars on Amazon. My selfless plug. So I wrote a really good book about a really bad film. It's called Growing Up with Manos, the Hands of Fate: How I Was the Child Star of the Worst Movie Ever Made and Lived to Tell the Story. And the foreword is written by Joel Hodgson, the host of Mystery Science Theater, the original host.
Nice. I am a huge fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000. I feel like that Mystery Science Theater, you either love it or hate it.
Yeah.
My wife, she doesn't get the joke. Like, I will sit there and I will just laugh uncontrollably, and my wife is like, "What are you doing?"
Well, it's a particular type of humor. I mean,
right.
I came to it naturally, I'd say. I mean, my dad, who played the master in Manos, was a Mystery Science Theater fan, and that's how I first discovered that it had been discovered after 27 years from the time it was made. I mean, it disappeared for 27 years. And then and I grew up a huge fan of Firesign Theater in high school and beyond. My best friend and I memorized all the albums and just drove everybody nuts. A lot of people didn't get the humor. So when this Mystery Science Theater thing came along, I got it. I felt like suddenly I'm with family now. These people know me. I know them.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember one of my favorite childhood memories was getting to stay up late every Friday night and watch the old episodes of Doctor Who.
Oh,
That's my. I mean, I love Doctor Who just because it's crazy and weird, and it's a property that
right.
you can literally do anything you want, and it weirdly makes sense.
Yeah.
But like, I love campiness. There is just something about campiness that just appeals to me. Maybe it's just the way that I build. Maybe it comes from all those really bad episodes of Doctor Who, but they all made you think, and they all sparked something in my brain, being like, for a better time.
Well, I mean, you think about Mystery Science Theater. I was looking back, and I mean, it's been going on for over 35 years. That's like Doctor Who. It's had its resurgences, but how many shows go on consistently for that many years? And now we're in this place where some of my fans are much younger
Mm-hmm.
because their parents fell in love with Mystery Science Theater and with Manos, The Hands of Fate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's become this film that people are watching it with their kids, and it's strange. I mean, to me, it's like a family movie because my whole family was involved. So
Yeah.
now it's like it's a family thing. Friends and family make it a thing to do is sit down and watch it and do their own riffing.
I love that. Like my oldest is 10. Her name is Leia. Can you guess what I'm a fan of? Uh, and so yes, I have a 10-year-old daughter named Leia who to this day has not been able to sit through an entire episode of Star Wars because it
Oh,
looks too old.
well,
You
she
know?
will. She will. You just, I mean, you can just, no, that's not right. You can't do that. Other than like pin her eyes open or something. But no,
Right.
give her a cup of coffee. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
know. I know. It's like if it wasn't for this, you don't get anything on that YouTube. You don't
Yeah.
get anything on it that you have on your iPad.
Oh, she will though.
Oh
Someday
yeah.
she'll sit down with you and she'll get through it.
Right, right. So what are you a big fan of? Because I know I was looking at all your art. Your art's very, very beautiful, by the way.
Thank
And I'm like,
you.
man, so amazing. What is it that what's your big fan? What are you a fandemic of? So what are those things that you have to have?
Oh, well, like, I had a 30-year career doing faux finishes, high-end faux finishes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and I live in a old Western Oregon town, kind of at the end of the road, and
Mm-hmm.
the, logging industry. And, and so when I started looking at what I was going to do with my art, I love reclaimed items. I
Oh,
love
cool.
reclaiming things. And what happened was I started seeing these 100-year-old doors and window frames stacked against garages or God forbid, on ready to get torched on a burn pile.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started asking people if I could have them. I started collecting them. And then I got a skill saw and I cut those doors. So you can imagine, like these old doors, you can
Yeah.
cut some of them into the, 4 or 5 panels. So then I would take my other skills with Venetian plaster and and the doors would become my frames. And I do my art on that. And it just keeps going. I can't stop collecting things. But what happened was I started collecting all these doors. And then I looked and I thought, I really don't want to be a hoarder. So I have to do something with them.
Yeah.
And it's been years. I just keep going on. So like old crown molding or
Mm-hmm.
that big baseboard, I cut that. And I love quotes. I love inspirational things. Like one of my favorite signs that I make is shift happens.
Nice.
Things like that. But so I collect things and then I find ways to reuse them. I mean, I've used wine bottles for raised gardens,
Mm-hmm.
like bricks. It's like people suggest something to me and I go, no, 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 la, 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 la. I don't need another idea.
I love that. It's one of those things that you can tell you're an artist just because when you see something, you can see something else in that thing. Like
Yes.
I know for myself, I can't draw, I can't paint, but I'll get ideas in my head, and I'm like, so I try to write them down. I don't know what if they'll ever become anything or not, but it's just that's where my creativity is. I've done a couple of podcasts. I'm a huge, huge, huge nerd. So I mean, I have a weekly trip up to the comic book store, but I'm like I like the positivity. I'm I'm the guy at work. I do marketing for a movie theater here in Iowa,
Oh, okay.
and so I'm the guy that like I'm the high five guy. I've always been the high five guy. I want to go around. I want to make everybody's day better. I want somebody to be like, hey, not having the greatest day. Brad comes around, high five. I tell the worst dad jokes ever. Just something like, all right, you know,
Now,
and
dad jokes are awesome.
right. Like,
Yeah.
have you heard the joke about the roof?
No.
It's over your head anyway.
Ah, yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a sad day. My parrot, my favorite parrot, just died. Yeah,
Oh.
it's I know. It's a huge weight off my shoulder.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah.
Pretty bad, right? I know. Oh man. So, what's your origin story?
My origin story?
Yeah, what brought you to where you are today?
Well, I was born in Fort Worth. I'm a fifth generation Texan.
Wow.
Yeah. And my family moved from Fort Worth to El Paso when I was 4. That was in 1963. And my dad originated as a minister, a Christian minister. And then he became the master in Manos the Hands of Faith. But that's a whole nother story. So he became executive director of the South El Paso Boys Club in El Paso, Texas. We're right on the border of Mexico. And my mother was a teacher and a very liberated woman. And my family were original. They were different than everybody around us. My dad was an artist and he did huge paintings of nudes, a lot of nudes. And we lived in El Paso is very Catholic, the Hispanic community. And in the 60s, it was pretty heavy. And we were the only non-Hispanic family in our neighborhood. So I was bullied a bit, but on the other hand, kids really wanted to get inside our house to see the artwork and such, because it's something their parents would not have approved of. So I grew up in kind of a different sort of environment than a lot of kids. And my dad was very creative and he was an artist. And so I loved spending time with him and spending time at the theater. I mean, I grew up in the community theater because he was there a lot. And then he became the executive director. So that was his job. So I was at the theater or I was sitting in his rock studio outside of the sparks off his welder or whatever, just observing. I was a very observant child. And also because it was the 60s, we lived right up against this big mountain. I mean, you go in the backyard, in the gully, and then up on the mountain. And so from like 7, 8 years on, I spent a lot of time by myself climbing up and around on that mountain, in the desert. And so I'm very independent. And that's been, some of my greatest gifts, I mean, I wouldn't do a lot of the things I've done in my life if I hadn't been the type of person that gets an idea and just steps off the ledge, and then I hope that my wings take, that my parachute works. And it doesn't always.
Right.
But overall, I don't have any regrets, of any. Well, here's another little thing too. And you wouldn't think of this as a blessing, but about a year and a half ago, I had out of the blues grand mal seizures, and I wrecked my car, and I lost most of my memory, short term and long term. A lot of my short term, at least I can get across the room now. I learned how to become a lot more organized than I'd ever been because I had to write everything down. But now that all this time has passed, it's like I still don't remember a lot of the past. You know, my friends like big jobs. I have an artist friend that says, "Remember when we painted the Reed Opera House?" And I'm like, "No." So, you know, it's I realize there's probably a lot of stuff. It's probably good that I don't remember. You know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And like you were telling me before we came on, you know, you're the high five guy. I've always been kind of the person who thinks too much and goes to the dark side a lot. But it's my art and following my path and my just sheer determination that keeps me going and finds the joy in life.
And that's the secret of life, really, right? You finding joy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm never not busy. I'm not a person that can just sit and play on a computer or watch movies all day. I just can't do it.
Yeah, I'm a huge movie buff and everything, but if I'm not in the theater, if I'm watching a movie at home, there's at least several times I'm checking my phone or something. It's really hard, especially in this day and age, to like put the phone somewhere and just be enthralled in a movie because you get an idea like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. Oh, I gotta go put the dishes in the dishwasher. Oh,
Yeah.
I gotta do all these things. Unless you're actually going out to do that one thing, it's hard to really kind of separate.
Yeah. Well, you know, now it's funny. You wouldn't think this either. My ex-husband and I, because we all live on the same property. You know, I sold my house to my kids, so I've got my sons, their wives, and all 4 grandchildren just across the yard. You know,
Well, that's awesome.
but my ex and I, we get together. I usually make dinner, and then we watch something. You know, and that's become a really nice habit because I'm eating better for one thing, you know, and I'm cooking for somebody else. But it forces me to, it's not forces, but now I have this habit of, okay, it's, 5:30, it's time to put all this other stuff away and put the phone down and watch a movie. You know, and I'm really enjoying that routine because otherwise my brain won't shut off.
Yeah. What's the best movie that you've seen lately?
Oh my gosh. Young Frankenstein.
I love that movie. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
we've been watching a lot of the older stuff. You know, I saw an interview with Gene Wilder the other day, and then, you know, how algorithms work. You see something, all of a sudden it all comes flooding. So I've been watching some stuff about Mel Brooks, and I just realized, you know, that was some of the funnest times of my youth, you know, like my 20s and my 30s was these movies and with my best friend and, you know, just brilliant, just brilliant. I know there's a lot of good new stuff right now, but unless like I said, if I don't write stuff down, I've got like 6 notebooks. If I need to write something down, I write it down, then I can't remember which notebook. But you know, I have 2 pages somewhere of dad jokes that I write.
Oh, do you really? That's awesome.
I can't remember any of them.
I have an app. I got an app. So, yeah. So my other podcast that I do is called Prevenge of the Nerds, and my buddy and I that we do it together. We kind of just changed the format a little bit at episode 51, where we take a movie and we pitch the story that leads into the movie. And then on the second episode, we pitch the stories that lead after, or that happen after the movie. And so that's kind of our new thing. But in our first movie that we did was Spaceballs.
Oh, that's fun.
Right.
I really like that movie.
I know. Spaceballs is one of the greatest comedies that's probably ever happened. And when you think of comedy movies, for me, my first thing is going to go to is Spaceballs. Second thing is going to go to is Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and third is probably Men in Tights. you know.
Oh yeah, those are all very good.
Right, and then like I guess if I start thinking, it's probably like Naked Gun, and those. I mean, there's so many more, but Spaceballs, it's just so stupid, funny, amazing. Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah,
Oh
just
man,
ridiculous, completely ridiculous.
and in such a good way.
Yes.
It's like it just there's something, and it does what the movie is supposed to do. Make you feel good.
Yeah, I mean, you look at those movies, and especially, since I've been doing film, a lot of independent film over the years and such, but seeing behind the scenes more and more and how different people work, and
Mhm.
and I can't help but when I watch these movies now, I think about behind the scenes a lot. I think, God, they had fun doing that. I mean, you can tell when they're just having so much fun.
I think that's got to be the key right there. I mean, for any good job, if there's not some aspect of fun involved, I mean, like what are you doing? That's what I get sick of things. It's like, okay, I'm not having fun. I'm working 18 hours. Like what am I doing here? But joy and fun. What more in life do you need?
Right. I mean, oh, that's one thing. Yeah, I just remember this. My business partner, we're starting a new artist co-op right now in the next town over, but she reminded me of something I said many years ago because we've worked together on different projects over the years, painting. She's an artist
Hmm.
as well. And she reminded me that I once said, what I've noticed about myself in life, if it's not fun, it's just not worth doing.
Yeah.
So it was nice to be reminded of that because I may not have remembered saying that, but that is the basis of my life.
Hmm. I think my words to live by that I kind of go through would always be come back to growth through stupidity.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think
Oh
that
gosh, how much? I mean, some of the best things I've learned is
yeah,
came from out of some of the most stupid ideas or
right.
choices.
As a matter, that's probably going to be one of my next kids' books that I do is called Growth Through Stupidity. But
I'm
yeah,
writing that's another project. I'm writing a children's book for adults.
I have a couple of those planned too. Yes, yes, I
Yeah,
love.
mine's called The Mad Grandmas.
Ooh, I love it.
Yeah, it's about three women that are best friends and have been best friends most of their lives. And one's the angry mad grandma, one's the crazy mad grandma, and then the other mad grandma is like the mad scientist grandma.
That is amazing. I can't wait to get that. It actually reminds me. So when I was young, when I would always go to my grandma's house for the week in a town a couple hours away from where we lived, and we'd go and it wasn't a big deal when I was like 8, but now that I'm older, it's a huge deal. My two great grandmothers would pick me up and take me out for the day.
Wow.
And they were just grandma to me when you're 7, 6, 7, 8. But now looking back, I'm like, I spent days with my two great grandmas together.
Wow.
And they would take me to their coffee shop, and it was like just awesome.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. One of them was named Ruby, and one of them was named Catherine. So, and it was just so much fun in those memories. So,
I'm one of the mad grandma. I mean, they're all from people I know.
mhm.
I mean, a composite of personalities and such and stories. But the angry mad grandma, I'm realizing a lot of her is actually reflected on the personality of my ex-husband.
Mm.
He's such a. I'm always going, man. You sure are a grumpy old man. God, he's so grumpy. But he is so in love with the youngest grandchild who just turned 2.
Ooh.
And I found a jacket the other day that fits the baby that looks just like its grandpa's, and they're just like little
Twinsies.
mini. But he just can't wait till, they bring little Damien out so he can hang out with him. He'll just hang out with him for hours, and it just cracks me up because he's such a grumpy old man, and yet he just melts with this kid, And I
Man.
just think about the memories because that they're gonna have, and all they do right now is they walk all around the yard. It's a couple acres altogether, and we live just 2 blocks from a river and a 30-foot waterfall. So
Oh, that's awesome.
so they're starting to walk down the driveway, and I think by spring they'll be going all the way down to the river and throwing rocks and stuff. And so yeah, those kind of being with your grandparents when you're young, that's really special. And your
Mhm.
great grandmas, wow.
Yeah. Man, I mean, I'm in Iowa, so like, there's nothing really cool, landmark ways. I mean, like there is, but not. No, I mean, nothing that I'd have to drive for maybe an hour or so to get to anything really fun. Other than that, I mean, you just look out and you can just see for miles and miles. I love where I'm at. I was in the military, so I've been all over the world and stuff like that.
Okay.
But I was stationed out in Washington, by Spokane. My
Uh-huh.
daughter, she goes to college in Cornish in Seattle.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just 3.5 hours from Seattle.
Oh yeah, and we're actually going out there in April to see one of her plays. She's a musical theater student.
Wonderful.
Oh, she's got a voice like an angel. I couldn't be more proud of this kid. She's so amazing.
Wow.
Love you, Kendall, if you're watching. Um, but yeah, it's just such a different world. I mean, it's just kind of crazy. Just yeah, you know, Washington, Oregon, Northern California. I mean, it's so just gorgeous everywhere you look
Yeah.
around.
Well, I moved from Texas to Southern California. I went to high school there, then Northern California for 20 years, and then I moved up here in 2000 because my sister and brother-in-law found this little tiny logging town, and I mean, you wouldn't know it if you weren't like into mountain biking or something,
Mm-hmm.
or if you were a logger. It's just out there, and it's only 1,000 people. So
Wow.
for a while, my brother-in-law was the mayor, my sister was the librarian, and I was on the school board and running the arts council. So when my youngest son was 16, I mean, we've had graduating classes of 4. Like
Whoa.
our biggest high school graduating classes are about like 19 kids.
That's so
So,
I come from a small town too. My graduating class was 66. So I
okay.
mean, like, yeah, that just puts my class to shame. It's huge. My class is huge. And I graduated 33rd out of 66,
Oh,
right in the middle.
well, that's not bad. I mean,
Yeah, for a guy that I didn't really try. I mean, I had other things on my mind, and
right?
for me, I'm an imaginative. Like my brain just goes off into new worlds and things. I mean, I got a couple different podcasts that I want to get off. I'm trying to write my first script.
Yeah,
I got things I got stories that I want to tell, and I just have never known how to get them out there. But
yeah,
and I've up until I started the Fandemic, I had never completed one of them. So like I was like, hey, I wanted to start my own podcast, but I was always relying like I need somebody else. I need somebody else to do it with. I need somebody else. So but I was able to start it and get it going, and then I always start off just by interviewing people. Then I started interviewing a buddy of mine. We're like, okay, well now we got to start a new podcast because this was just awesome. And then another thing that I had on my bucket list that of things I want to do is I had written this kid's book years ago, and I wrote it in 25 minutes. And it was this, I
wow,
called it the Stuffed Animal Night Force versus the Dream Invaders, all about stuffed animals that ward off bad dreams.
good.
And I wrote it, and I can't draw, and I didn't have $1,000 to spend on illustrating, and my brother's an artist, but he was gonna charge me $800 to do it, and I'm like, dude, if I get it done, I'm probably gonna make like $50. Like, I mean, I'm just want to get it done. But so then I started, then I released my first kids book, Leveling Up My Awesome. And I actually illustrated by myself, all done with Canva. But that it's just another notch of the wow, I can do this. I can do this,
Yes.
and it just kind of makes you feel better. And I don't even know what was stopping me before, probably just my brain.
Oh yeah, my word of the year so far is perspective.
Mm.
Because I've learned so much, especially since the accident and things. I got there's so much frustration, and so many times I just wanted to give up on things.
Mhm.
Just trying to heal, but all these things were happening. Monos was taking off again, and I'm doing online painting classes now. And I filmed, there's the Monos Chronicles. It's a new web series that's going to be coming out. And we had scheduled to film this like 7 weeks, less than 2 months after the seizures.
Oh,
And I told the neurologist, that I was going to Yosemite to film this thing.
mhm.
And she says, I strongly advise you not to do this. And I said, but I'm on 45 pages of a 54-page script. It's kind of about me. So somebody else drove me, and I went, and we all worked together, and I'm looking at it now. It's not released yet, but
Uh-huh.
the people, Willow and Craig Paulson, who created it and are doing it, they've won awards on other web series and things. They worked with me so great. They were just so patient and so great, and we
Nice.
still got it done. And I don't know if I hadn't done that. I don't know if I could have had the confidence to just keep pushing through
Mhm.
since then, because now I've got my online classes. I don't know, when I look at this, the Debbie Chronicle, I mean, the Monos Chronicles, you can see the trailer on YouTube.
Yeah, I watched it just not long ago before it got going.
Well, I got to see the whole thing before all the editing is done, but
Mhm.
I'm telling you, it just amazes me. I look at it and I can't tell that I was as that I was having as many issues that as I've had. I just couldn't tell when I look at it. I'm amazed. So, you just got to keep moving forward. But perspective, I've learned that, the old, you can't see the forest for the trees. Just step. Even if you just shift happens. Even if you just shift just a little bit and you see something from a different perspective, it's incredible the things that can just explode open all of a sudden. That's what's happening right now, just in the last 2 weeks. I I finally started feeling better, and I started looking at things a little differently, and I just can't wait to see what happens in the next few months and over this year. Yep, yep. Big.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you say you can't see the forest through the trees, but the tree is part of the forest,
Yeah.
and then then it can be so hard to like take your own advice at times. I remember
Yeah.
so many times, like my wife will be driving and somebody's going slow, and I'm like, you know what, babe, maybe maybe this is fate just telling us to slow down a little bit, you know. And I mean, I'm a. Are you? Have you heard of Reiki at all, or been in?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
The studio, the building I'm in, one of my dearest friends has her massage studio upstairs. She also does Reiki, and we're looking at doing some healing through color type classes, and yeah, we're looking at a lot of different things like that. So I definitely am into Reiki.
So I'm actually a Reiki master.
Are you?
I am. I am. I don't do a lot of it because when I was attuned, I had a bad experience. I had a really bad experience. I had nightmares for days afterwards
Mm.
for Reiki. Um, and so I haven't really done too much of it except for my friend who my best friend had an unfortunate loss with his daughter not long ago, and so I sent him some Tibetan prayer beads, and I did a heavy meditation and put Reiki in there for him and his other daughter, and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I love Reiki. Well, most of the things that I, like in my brain come there's a sense of a principle of Reiki or something in there. It's just um I just love how it could be something that you don't have to believe in mumbo jumbo or anything
Right.
like that. And it's just like, hey, a lot of it is just relaxing. Don't forget to breathe.
That's right. Don't forget to breathe.
You know?
Because when you say that to yourself, you realize that you may have been going on for hours with shallow breaths. I mean, not
Mhm.
really breathing. So I try to remember to breathe too.
Yeah, and it's something so simple in life that you do from the second you're born, but like, sometimes it just takes that little second where you have to come
Yeah.
back and, okay,
So, like
realize
you
come
said,
back in the moment.
when somebody's driving slow and you say, well, maybe that's fate. Well, as I've been putting that focus of manifesting things, like just
Mhm.
getting clear of what I want and how I'm going to get there, it is magic. The people that suddenly show up, you're like, well, I need somebody, I don't have the money. I need a website. I need
Yeah.
a press kit. Well, guess what? I got both of those things going on. And the guy that's doing the press kit, he's in like on the he's in London, Ontario. He's in Canada. How would I ever meet a person like that if it weren't
Mhm.
for the internet, for fate? So when you're going slow, maybe it's because, you need to see something that's not going to happen if you speed by it or if you get there too soon, even if it's 30 seconds.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason why I started doing this podcast is just because I want to have conversations with anybody. Like I mean, to me, forgotten about is talking to people,
Yeah.
and I'm one of those people. Like, I want to be friends with everybody. I would give you a high five right now. I mean, like that's the kind of person I want. The people come into your life, whether it's from a post on Facebook or whether it's a message or whether you're at the grocery store or something like that, and you have whether you talk to them or you pass on by, you're missing a story and you're
Yes.
missing a good conversation, and that's kind of what my kind of search is with the Fandemic, because everybody's a fan of something.
Yeah, well, just yesterday I did a podcast with a guy interview with a guy. It's about books. He wanted to talk about my book. And we got to the end of it, and he said, have you ever heard of the critical drinker? And he says, this guy's like probably from Scotland or something. But anyway, he's got like millions of fans. And this guy said, well, I think you should talk to him. I think it'd be perfect. So I'm going to connect with that guy. But it's like, or 2 days ago, somebody tagged me in a post on another fan page,
Mm-hmm.
one I hadn't heard of. So I responded, and it was like there were so many people. I mean, they were like treating me like royalty, and I'd never even heard of this. And I looked, and they had like 37,000 members. And
Wow.
I've been manifesting, building my audience to build my online painting classes,
Mm-hmm.
because they're so much fun. They're Mystery Science Theater related. We've
Mm-hmm.
done Godzilla and Mothra, and I mean, it's fun. Every month we paint something else Mystery Science Theater related. But all of a sudden these connections that I don't know, it's just like magic. Like, oh, have you talked to this person? Or somebody tags me, and I'm just kind of blown away by the response I got off this fan page that I had no idea existed, 3 days ago.
That's awesome. And it's one of those things like you're hitting it at the right time for the right reasons, and everything. All those stars are aligning. I'm also somebody I
And
like.
things go the other way too, I mean, we all know that with
Yeah.
those days when from the moment you wake up, you're kicking things over. It's like nothing's going right. You're just off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to remember on those days that it goes the other way as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to get into yoga for so long.
Me
You know,
too.
I bought the DDP yoga for my wife and I to do. We got it on Veterans Day like 2 years ago, I think, and I think we've tried it like once or twice. And every day I'm like, all right, babe, we need to do this. We need to start doing this. So get up and I've been doing really good at going to the gym a few times a week up until like a week ago. I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was the snow or I don't know if it just got out of my mindset. But I'm gonna talk to my buddy who works there. I'm like, dude, you need to be mean to me. You need to tell me to get off my butt, get my butt over there, because right now I need that kind of motivation.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah, yoga, this artist co-op, my friend Dina and I, we've been talking about the idea of that for like 10 years. And we just got together to have a glass of wine one day. I just felt like we needed to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And we started talking about it. And she says, well, we have this other friend who owns this huge building that used to be, it was a J.C. Penney's in 1921 through 1989. Wow. I mean, every time I walk in that building, I feel like I'm walking into the Overlook Hotel from The Shining. I mean, it's just beautiful, and it's haunted. There's 3 documented spirits in that building, and they've been photographed even.
Wow.
So she says, what about the Dallas Event Center? What about that? So we called Marlene, the owner, and she says, well, yeah, I'm so sick of doing weddings. I've been thinking about doing something different. So we went and talked to her, and now we're opening a co-op but for all the arts. We're going to have independent movie night. Within 2 months, now there's a 300 square foot dance floor in there, and there's a woman teaching ballroom and swing. And we're interviewing artists to open a gallery. We're going to have the movie night. We went to the senior center, asked them if they'd tell stories. And one lady says, well, we'll just lie. We don't care,
Right.
And it's just, but yeah, I've been thinking for a long time, I want yoga. I just want to do yoga. Well, guess what? We're going to have yoga. Mm-hmm. I mean, everything is coming together. It's like a shopping mall of the arts all of a sudden.
That sounds amazing. I can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah, it's going to be very cool. In fact, the first movie we're going to do is the one that I helped write and produce and starred in was Manos Returns, because it was filmed right across the street upstairs in the top of an old hotel that hadn't been touched in over 100 years. So
that's cool.
Creepy building. And so it'll be fun, we'll show the film and the director will be there and we'll talk about it and say, yeah, it was filmed right there.
That's cool. So in Iowa, our horror kind of claim to fame is the Villisca Axe Murder House.
Okay.
Where, I mean, it's gone unsolved for over 100 years. Yeah, it's really interesting when you get into it. I mean, this is like this was 1912, 1911, 1912. Christian family, whatever, bunch of kids. They had some friends sleep over. All of a sudden, one day, they wake up and everybody's dead.
They woke up dead?
Well, somebody had came in and killed them all with an axe
Yeah. Ugh.
and
God,
left,
that's horrible.
and then they left. And there's been like a couple of suspects, but yeah, I mean, like, and you could stay
With an
in.
axe.
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it was very brutal. If you ever want to go down a cool horror story rabbit hole, look up the Velisca axe murder house.
Velisca. Okay.
Velisca axe murder. It's crazy, crazy, crazy.
Wow. Okay.
So, as a huge nerd, couple, we're going to do a little bit of what are your favorites here? What are your quick picks here? What's your all-time favorite horror movie?
I guess The Shining. Yeah. In fact, my dad is an actor. I mean, I loved, sorry. I can see his face. Names I'm still having trouble with. Who played the lead? Was
Jack Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson. Yeah, I was a big Jack Nicholson fan at that time anyway, because I loved One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and my dad played that role during his craziest time of his life. And so, there's just so many layers to Jack Nicholson, but The Shining, I'd say The Shining. And I've been able to go visit that hotel as well.
Really? Have you seen Dr. Sleep?
No.
It's on HBO Max. It's I think right now it's the sequel. It was written by Stephen King.
Oh, okay. I love Stephen King. I was a big reader as a kid, and I read many of his books up to the point when I stopped reading.
It's like, weirdly enough, my favorite Stephen King book is his fantasy book. He wrote a fantasy book, and it was called like The Dragon's Eye or something like that.
Oh.
And that I read it like 2 or 3 times in high school. But that's my favorite Stephen King book. I don't know, something about, I love fantasy. I love sword, sorcery, all that kind of magic and wizards and Lord of the Rings, stuff like that. So, are you a Marvel fan?
No, not really. Yeah.
So, what is your favorite movie ever?
Oh man. I don't know. I really don't know. I just like so many different things, and I don't know. I can't.
So, what about, who's your favorite hero and villain in any media?
Hero and villain. Oh gosh, my favorite hero. Well, stop it, Shanka. My little dog's staring at me. Come on, Mom. Oh man, this is all the memory stuff. That's the problem.
Gotcha. That's all right.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. All right, one last one. What do you like to rock out to? Is there a song that you like?
Yeah, I'm earworm right now. I just can't. It's always in my head. And it's the Abbott Brothers.
Okay.
No Hard Feelings.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
I can't get past that song. In fact, I love it so much. I think it really maybe kind of, that's how I feel in life right now. It's like I'm just at that place where it's just time not to hold on to stuff. Just let it go, and look to the future and what do I need to do and stop. But I've decided, and I got to write this down for somebody else, is that's the song I want to be played at my celebration of life.
Very cool.
I just can't get past it.
Awesome. All right. Well, I have taken up enough of your day. We'll go ahead and start wrapping some things up here. Would you like to tell anybody anything else that you want to say?
Yeah, go check out dumb-industries.com. I'd really like people to, if even if you don't think you're an artist,
Mm-hmm.
these painting classes, I've been teaching painting classes in person for like 7 years, and there's always somebody that walks in and says, I can't even draw a stick figure. But by the end of class, so many times they're like, hey, I'm not that bad, and what's so cool about these classes is that I encourage people to use any medium they're comfortable with. I mean, I'm painting on canvas with acrylic paints, but now I have people painting on glass bottles, on rocks, on their iPads. Mary Jo Peel from Mystery Science Theater came and did one of my classes, and she did it on paper with crayon.
Very cool.
So yeah, I'm teaching 2 classes a month, second and fourth Saturday. The one class is for Mystery Science Theater fans.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we've done Mothra and Godzilla, and we're doing The Brain That Wouldn't Die this coming Saturday. Jan in the Pan.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the fourth Saturdays, I'm doing classes for everybody else, like landscapes and different things. And the students every month we do a poll, so they get to choose what we're going to be painting next from a selection that I give them of about 6 paintings. But it's just really fun. So go check out my stuff on Dumb-Industries.
Cool. I'll put a link in the show notes for you.
And look in the merchandise too. If you want a copy of my book,
I will definitely.
you can get it straight, or you can get it autographed as well.
Yes, I will definitely be looking into that. Awesome. All right. Well, so you can tweet at me at Fandemic3, message me on Facebook at the Fandemic, also active on TikTok. Do you mind if I cut this episode up a little bit and throw it out on TikTok?
No, please do.
Awesome. I'll do, are you on TikTok at all? So to tag you or?
I don't know if I have an account yet on TikTok.
Okay.
I mean, I watch it all the time, and I know I need to get on there. So the woman that's helping me with my website, she's going to be helping me with those things as well.
Cool.
So yeah,
Cool.
please do, and you just inspire me to go and see if I need to actually create an account.
No worries at all. All right, so I do some light reviews, but mostly it's just my podcast stuff about Prevenge of the Nerds, the Fandemic, and some 1-star reviews I like to go over as well. So, also, if you want to support the show, there are several ways to do so. You could buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/thefandemic, and Brian and I will either toast you or roast you on the very next episode of Prevenge of the Nerds. You can go to Patreon at patreon.com/PVOTN Fandemic. Become an episode assistant, an episode producer like Stacy, or become part of the con. Yes, you could be a part of the Council of Nerds starting at $5 a month. Become a monthly supporter on anchor.fm/PVOTN. Or you know what? Just share the show with someone you want to make a little more awesome, because I wrote the book on leveling up your awesome. Don't forget to leave a 5-star review now, Jackey. I like to end every episode on a high level, on a positive note. I know you told me shift happens. Do you have any other words of wisdom?
Yeah, that stress kills. That's what I've learned, and I'm so grateful that I learned that and had the opportunity to keep going. But it's better if you don't have to go through that. So just don't hang on to stuff. Look forward to what's next, and if you feel like you're not getting anywhere, even if it's just a little bit, if you do that every day, you're still going forward, and you'll see the difference.
Love it. So we're all playing the same game in life, just on a different level. Thanks for catching up. You're welcome for leveling up your awesome. Live free or die empty. Have a great day.